So, if you haven't been paying attention, the NFL is just about one more pathetic public service announcement away from being renamed the National Feminist League. Problem is, no one in the naive, well-intentioned NFL offices seems to have gotten the memo that drowning yourself in a deep pool of your own man tears isn't very likely to satisfy the third-wave man-hating lynch mob very much. Also, while the NFL is busy shoving its head up its ass as far as it can, trying to impress the insatiable, there's a rather large chunk of reality regarding the social issues it is presently wading into with all the wherewithal of a doe-eyed virgin Mormon missionary in an ISIS madrasa, that it completely forgot to factor into its self-loathing and man-guilt calculus.
No more boys will be boys.
No more, what's the big deal?
No more, it's just the way he is.
No more, he just has a temper.
No more, but he's such a nice guy.
No more, but he has such a bright future.
No more, not my problem.
No more, I'll say something next time.
No more, why didn't she tell anyone?
No more, why doesn't she just leave?
No more, I'm sure they'll work it out.
No more, she seems fine to me.
No more, what was she wearing?
No more, she was drunk.
No more, he was drunk.
No more, she was asking for it.
No more, she never said no.
No more, not in this family.
No more, not on this team.
No more, we don't talk about that.
No more bystanding.
No more ignorance.
No more excuses.
No more.
There's a great deal of controversy about this. In fact, when I brought up the issue that women could sexually abuse children, I was vilified. I was cast out of the sisterhood. I was no longer a good feminist because sexual abuse had to be under the guise of male power. And if I had a significant number of women who were sexually abusing children and I knew about these women, then that messed up the male power thing. And surely if women were going to abuse children, then they had to be doing it under the thumb of a man. A man had to be telling them to do it.
Do women tend to only commit child abuse if there's a man involved as well?
No, no. In over 75% of the cases, the women acted completely alone. Most times there wasn't even a man in the premises. So, you know, the excuse. And it's interesting about us as women because we're quite willing to accept that we are a superior breed and that we do everything right, but quite unwilling to accept that we could do anything quite as horrible as this. We had a conference about this, a huge conference. People came, dotted themselves in the audience, and tried to disrupt it. They were yelling that, you know, why was I paying attention to women? It wasn't women, I was taking the attention away from men. And it was absolutely strange and very sad because it was like, don't tell me this information, even if it's true, because I don't want to hear it. And if those women who came along to our conference had had anything to do about it, nobody else would have ever talked about it. It would have just gone away. They've been able to disguise their abuse, I think, more cleverly than men have. Society doesn't want to believe that there are female abusers. It's easier to think it's a nasty man. Women tend to use objects, broom handles, bottles. One woman said that she was sexually abused by rose stems with the thorns still on, being stuck up. Women can be quite cruel using objects. Women who sexually abuse children like to have jobs where they're around children. Nursing, teaching, daycare, things like that. I mean, most parents don't think twice about leaving their children in care of a woman. They do now think twice about leaving their child in care of a man. Again, I think that that's wrong.
Now, while the NFL flogs itself in public with its own collective penis it feels so ashamed of, feminists and women in general are having a riotous chuckle fest of a time over wives cutting off that same body part from their husbands, occasionally multiple times for good mutilating measure.
Warning! Big warning. Men out there?
What did we put in the water for that? I don't know. Men out there, brace yourselves, because we're about to go there because this woman, we're about to go there because this woman allegedly did. According to the Orange County DA's office, Catherine Q. Becker is accused of cutting off her husband's penis with a knife, taking his penis and throwing it into the garbage disposal. She's been charged with felony torture and aggravated mayhem. Police say Becker attacked him because he filed for divorce. She's being held. She goes, that'll teach him.
I do think it's quite fabulous. I mean, can you just imagine that thing whizzing around the disposal? It's like hysterical.
Of course, when they do decide to take it seriously, now it's time to make the false rape accusations in order to excuse it away.
Didn't he rape her? I did some more reading, and apparently the prosecution dismissed rape and abuse charges by saying she didn't write down the dates. She only told her doctor and they were getting divorced anyway. So, he's a rapist. They're just not going to do anything about it, even though they know it to be true. Oh geez, we're supposed to write down the dates of those things now? For fuck's sake.
Yeah, funny thing about the justice system, if it's actually going to be, just, is you're going to have to know the time and location when you're the victim of a crime in order to pin down the whereabouts of the alleged perpetrator.
Fuck that. I just want whatever is said on Jezebel to be automatically true, and to be judge, jury, and executioner for all men.
Now, I wouldn't be terribly shocked to find this kind of reprehensible behavior and these kinds of tasteless articles on a brainless gore porn site, where nothing is sacred, to put it mildly. But it's rather glaringly out of place on sites touting themselves to be legitimate sources of information, news, and constructive social commentary. Especially when you consider that less egregious assaults by any sane person's measure are met with disgust, shock, and outrage at these same sites, and for which jokes are not tolerated, and the sign of some, impending testosterone apocalypse.
Hey, wouldn't it be fucking hilarious if I showed up as a dude who knocked his fiancée unconscious and dragged her out of an elevator into a hotel lobby with no shame? Who initially got a 2-game suspension and nearly got away with pinning the blame on her? Pro tip, have perhaps a shred of decency. It would save us all a whole lot of anger and time.
I mean, just imagine the manufactured, furious outrage if a respected politics, news, or social media site posted pictures of a naked woman in the streets, bleeding from the genitals her husband just mutilated, and removed with a dull implement for the second time. And then site contributors had a merry old time cracking jokes at her expense. Getting knocked unconscious by your spouse? No laughing matter. Having your genitals cut off? Hilarious. Well, as long as the knife's in the wife's hand.
I do think it's quite fabulous. Can you just imagine that thing whizzing around the disposal? It's like hysterical.
No more ignorance.